Money itself isn't necessarily the cause of conflict or problems in a relationship. It's often just a tool that can help or harm, depending on how you and your girlfriend manage and perceive it. It all depends on your approach, your ability to find common ground regarding financial matters and establish common rules of the game. Unfortunately, it's often miscommunication and a lack of openness that can cause cracks in even the strongest relationships. Unmet expectations, different money habits, and hidden resentments or omissions quickly become the source of constant arguments and misunderstandings. Frankly, money isn't just numbers in an account or bills, but a reflection of each partner's values, goals, and personal priorities. The most important thing is to learn to negotiate in advance and be honest about your views and expectations. The good news is that maintaining trust and peace in a relationship is entirely possible. To do this, simply adhere to a few simple yet crucial principles that will help prevent money from ruining your relationship and, conversely, make it even stronger. The first step is acknowledging and accepting your differences. Recognize that you and your girlfriend may differ significantly in many ways: how you spend money, how much you save, your attitude toward risk and security, and what constitutes prosperity or comfort for each of you. For example, one of you may enjoy unpredictable, spontaneous purchases and gifts, while the other feels secure only when all finances are systematized, tracked, and set aside for a rainy day. Conflicts often arise not because money is a source of confusion, but because one partner tries to mold the other to their own vision. Money itself isn't the cause of discord, it's the desire to impose your point of view or demand that others do the same. This is precisely what causes tension. It's much wiser to view differences as valuable assets. For example, you may be more meticulous and cautious in everything, while she may be more proactive and willing to take risks for greater goals. Together, you can balance each other. You can slow down in risky situations, and she can inspire new achievements. One sees the dangers, the other sees the opportunities, and this is how a stable and harmonious balance is created. Communicating about money shouldn't turn into a boring report, or a test of your knowledge of all the intricacies of accounting. It's best to learn to conduct a dialogue filled with genuine interest and respect. Learn to listen, and don't just wait your turn to speak. Ask why it's so important for her to buy something, what fears and anxieties she has, what she's afraid of, or, conversely, what she's striving for. Don't brush her off or argue out of principle, even if you think you understand the topic better. It's important that everyone feels heard. Don't forget to clarify and show genuine interest in her views. Respect her opinion, even if it differs from yours. When a person feels understood and not judged, they are less likely to resist or shut down. Ultimately, this approach helps build mutual trust and creates the conditions for more productive and honest conversations about finances. Finally, it's important to remember, money is only a tool, not a weapon or a source of conflict. The right approach, open communication, the ability to accept differences, and a shared commitment to harmony are what truly help preserve and strengthen your relationship financially. Gradually, you both will learn to find balance and create an atmosphere of trust in your relationship where money becomes a blessing, not a source of problems. 2. Use a joint account. Build trust and create a team. Many men, out of habit or past experience, prefer to maintain separate accounts, believing this to be a more convenient and secure option. Sometimes this is due to insecurity, mistrust, or simply the habit of managing their own finances. However, it's important to understand that a relationship is more than just two independent individuals sharing utilities and groceries equally. It's much more than that. It's a shared future, shared goals, and responsibility. If you continue to live as two financially separate people, you automatically begin to play a game where each person calculates how much each person has spent, who should compensate each other, and who owes each other what. This approach inevitably leads to mistrust, secrecy, and unnecessary conflict. For example, when each person has their own money, it's easier to hide purchases, downplay expenses, or become jealous of the amount the other person spends on themselves. Against this backdrop, finances feel personal, even secretive, which only complicates your relationship. Scientists and psychologists agree that pooling finances isn't a restriction on freedom, but rather a way to reduce tension and create an atmosphere of trust. A shared account allows you to see the big picture: how much comes in, how much goes out, what you're saving for, what's realistically available, and what plans you can implement. You stop playing guessing games or spy games and begin to perceive finances as a tool for achieving shared goals. A shared budget doesn't become something strict, but rather a means of transparency and emotional support. Instead of comparing expenses or feeling jealous over each other's spending, you understand that your money serves one purpose for both of you: the realization of dreams, travel, buying a home, improving your living conditions, your children's future, financial freedom, or paying off debt. In this case, money ceases to be mine or yours, but rather a resource that benefits your shared future. If you organize everything properly, and it's simply a matter of openness, trust, and a little practicality, you don't lose freedom, but rather relieve stress and eliminate unnecessary irritations. You don't have to constantly guess, negotiate after the fact, or justify spending. You stay calm and strengthen your connection, feeling like both parties are working as a team. 3. Go on budget dates. Make finances part of the romance. One of the most common mistakes is discussing money only after a problem has already arisen. This happens when someone runs out of money, someone spends more than planned, or an unexpected payment throws you off schedule. At these moments, blame, irritation, and a sense of mistrust set in: who squandered more or is being greedy? Instead of resolving the problem calmly, the conflict turns into an argument, and it's often too late to fix it. To avoid such situations, schedule financial dates regularly, preferably once a month or at least every 2 weeks. Don't turn these meetings into boring fact-finding sessions. Make them enjoyable and relaxed. For example, arrange them over a cup of coffee, a shared dinner, or a glass of wine. Create an atmosphere of support and trust so that the conversation doesn't feel threatening or coercive. Prepare your bank statements, a list of major expenses, plans for the coming month, mandatory payments and expenses, as well as your dreams and desire to save. Together, evaluate how the past period went, whether there are any overspending or anything that needs to be adjusted or postponed. Discuss what finances you will need for future goals, travel, renovations, purchases, children's education, or other important matters. Such a joint discussion not only helps you better understand each other but also helps you get on the same page. You stop making assumptions or drawing conclusions based on guesswork. During an honest conversation, people often voice for the first time fears or dreams that have remained hidden in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Some hide their worries because they don't want to burden their partner, while others avoid discussing their desires and plans, believing it's inappropriate or premature. But by creating a safe space for dialogue without complaints and accusations, you can build trust and understand each other's true values. The key is to remember that conversations about finances shouldn't be recriminations, but rather an opportunity to work together on your future. Make finances a part of your life together, and you'll be surprised how much easier and more enjoyable it becomes to journey toward your dreams, hand in hand and with a soul filled with trust. 4. Avoid extreme words like always and never. When a conversation about money turns into an argument or a fight, remember that people are often talking about each other's personal characteristics rather than specific situations. Phrases like "you always spend recklessly," "you never count your money," or "you're always taking everything on yourself" are overly broad accusations that are often perceived as harsh judgments. Such words are often used not to address the issue but to criticize or accuse the partner, creating a barrier to constructive dialogue. Generalizations like "you always" or "you never" automatically trigger a defensive reaction in a woman. As a result, she stops listening to what you have to say because she feels attacked or exposed. At this point, the conversation shifts from a logical to an emotional level, and even a minor argument can escalate into conflict. She may subsequently develop a detached attitude toward talking about money. She'll avoid the topic for fear of being blamed or put in an awkward position. If it's important to you to be heard and understood, try to express your thoughts clearly and without accusations. Talk about specific actions or situations, avoiding generalizations. It's also important to be able to recognize your partner's emotional state. If she expresses a strong reaction, try to understand what's behind it. Perhaps it's anxiety about the future, fatigue, fear of losing control, or a sense of injustice. In such cases, it's important not to react with accusations, but to show empathy and seek to understand the meaning behind her words. Remember, harsh remarks aren't always intended to offend. Sometimes people simply don't know how to express their concerns or frustrations any other way. In such a situation, it's best to try to hear her feelings and explain your opinion calmly and without attacking, so as not to escalate the conflict. Being patient and calm in such communication helps create an atmosphere of trust and openness. 5. Deal with debt together. Debt isn't just a financial burden, it's a psychological pressure felt within a couple. Each of you may perceive loans, installment plans, debts owed to relatives, payday loans, or credit cards differently. For some, this causes anxiety and stress, while for others, irritation or indifference. When each person has their own personal views and attitudes on the matter, tension builds and leads to conflict. To avoid numerous disagreements about debt, it's important to change your approach and start viewing it as a shared problem that requires joint efforts. Instead of dividing responsibility, your loans or my card, perceive it as a shared burden that you need to overcome together. Take the first step. Sit down together and write down all your debts in detail. Who you owe, the interest rate, the repayment terms, and the total amount you need to pay. Of course, it can be scary to look at the total amount, and at first, you may be tempted to close your eyes or avoid it. However, it's better to know the truth to have a clear understanding of the situation and choose the right strategy. Then, decide where to start. Perhaps there are higher interest debts that should be paid off first, or a loan that can be paid off more easily to ease the burden. Discuss and agree on an action plan. Assign responsibilities and amounts. Who can contribute how much in the coming months? Sometimes you'll need to temporarily forego entertainment, travel, shopping, or habitual spending to increase repayment efficiency. This may include cutting back on subscriptions, selling unnecessary items, or finding a part-time job. Agree on realistic goals, break larger tasks into smaller steps, and be sure to support each other in this process. It's important to remember, don't turn debt repayment into personal punishment or a point of blame. If debt was incurred through mistake or stupidity, The past can't be changed. Instead of assigning blame, it's better to focus on a strategy for getting out of this situation and preventing future mistakes. Mutual support and a willingness to work together are the keys to success in building trust. 6. Learn to compromise. The skill of compromise is one of the most important elements of successful financial relationships. It doesn't mean giving in with resentment or losing, but rather finding a solution that satisfies both parties and helps them move forward. Even if you're confident you're right or believe your approach is more sound, it's important to remember, a rigid my way mentality or constantly imposing your point of view can dramatically disrupt harmony in a relationship. You need to keep in mind that your partner isn't just the user of money and numbers, but a person with emotions, desires, and needs. Clearly, you both may have different perspectives. You're a person of systems, plans, spreadsheets, and analytics, while she's a person of feelings, preferences, and intuition. And both are right in their own way. Therefore, sometimes it's important for both of you to feel comfortable, one maintaining control, and the other feeling heard and given the opportunity to speak up. It's important to be able to negotiate, find common ground, and make decisions that take into account both your interests. For example, if you want to save money for a major purchase or investment, and she wants to save for a trip or furniture upgrade, you can agree on step-by-step solutions. For example, allocate a small amount to building up your savings and leave some for pleasure or relaxation. Or prioritize what's most important now and what's saved for the future. Also, remember that showing flexibility and a willingness to make concessions today can work in your favor in the future. When you show that you value the other person's opinions and actions, they are more willing to compromise. This builds trust and promotes a balanced and stable decision-making system. 7. Build a shared future in your mind. The key idea is that even with different financial approaches, interests, and speeds, you always have a common thread: shared goals. This is what keeps you together and helps prevent disagreements from becoming a rift. When you clearly understand what you're working towards and what you want to achieve together in 3, 5, or 10 years, conflicts become less frequent because you have a roadmap. Discuss and document your dreams: buying a home, traveling, starting a business, raising your children, ensuring stability, whatever is important to both of you. Even if your priorities differ, you can combine them by breaking them down into steps or creating an action plan. The key idea is that money is a tool for achieving dreams, not a reason for arguments. When you share a common goal, conversations about finances turn from arguments into shared planning and collaboration to achieving your dreams. Maintaining this shared vision helps reduce the fear and anxiety that often cause conflict. People argue precisely because they feel unsure about the future. By creating a shared vision, you reduce uncertainty and build trust. Your life together becomes like building a house. Everyone has a role to play, and together you create a strong and harmonious space. And finally, remember that you're in the same boat. Your goal isn't to defeat each other in an argument, but to unite in the face of challenges and move forward hand in hand, creating a happy life together.